Welcome back. So glad to have you here and our wonderful guest. I'm Connie Sokol, and my guest today is Wendi Christensen. Hi, Wendi. Thanks so
Hi,
much for being here today.
thank you. I'm so glad to be back.
We have loved her wonderful advice. And if you don't know who she is, I'm going to give you the treat of the day of knowing who she is. I'm going to give you the official rundown, and then I'm going to share with you my personal take on the experiences that I've had with Sweet Wendi. But she is a licensed clinical social worker, and she's an author, speaker, media personality. She also has founded the Encompass Life, where she provides private counseling to individuals, couples, and families, and she does it all. So whatever your problem is, she's got tips and tools for you to fix it. So whether it's divorce or it's grief and loss or it's suicide prevention or it's emotional wellness or mental wellness, whatever that might be, she's got great tips and tools. And the things that I love about Wendi particularly is she has such a warm but clear way of delivering things that can help you make a change right now, starting today, and being able to do just hands-on real-time tools. So that's what I love, and that's what you're going to get today. We're going to be talking about forgiveness and specifically how we can get beyond the obstacle of not forgiving, where it seems completely justified. Just want to set that out right now, that in so many of the situations of women that we both worked with, it's just so justifiable. However, once we know some things about forgiveness and the power that that has and the good stuff that that brings, it can shift the way you look at it and the way that you want to have it be a part of your life. So Wendi, in your practice, what kinds of situations do you see that kind of warrant women coming in and saying, man, I'm struggling to forgive this person or forgive in this situation or whatever? What kinds of varied situations do you find?
There are so many different situations I run into all the time. I've got women who have come, they're divorced or they're grieving, they've lost a spouse or maybe a child. I've got families and parents that maybe their child is dealing with depression, anxiety, or even suicidal. I have a lot of women that come in that have dealt with abuse, whether it be physical, mental, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, as adults and as children. I run into a lot of that. And then also pornography situations where there's addictions with pornography, sex addiction, gaming addiction is a very popular one today as well. All kinds of, there's so many. There's just, I could go on and on about different situations that people come in. And lately, I'm actually finding a lot where different value systems that couples are splitting because, once they got married or in their relationship, they started off with one set of values and now their values are changing and things are switching for them. So I'm seeing just a myriad of issues that come in.
Wow. And I'm sure people listening are being able to see and feel themselves in those situations and see, wow, when people are divorcing or have divorced, there's usually other parameters that are in there, other aspects that are a part of the reason why that has happened. So let's talk about that today. What are some of the things about forgiveness that we may not recognize because we know that it impacts the resentment, the anger, all of that impacts us physically and emotionally and in so many different ways. So talk to us about the impact of this.
Okay. Forgiveness is my favorite topic, so I'm so excited to talk about it because I misunderstood it for so many years, and it took me a long time to understand it myself. One thing that we look at when you think of forgiveness, you think, well, but we look at condoning it, right? We think, oh, but I can't accept what happened, and so there's no way that I can forgive. We put all these conditions on it. I'll forgive when this happens. I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. I'll forgive when we look at it as a protection. If I forgive, if I withhold the forgiveness, that will somehow protect me. But the problem is, who does it end up affecting the most? It's you, it's yourself. One of my favorite proverbs is, withholding forgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Because really that's what it is. We're expecting that if I can withhold my forgiveness, that it's an action that's going to affect the other person. But ultimately, the person it affects the most is always you. And so that's why I like to teach people about look at forgiveness from a different perspective than what you're looking at it from. So when I'm working with someone, first of all, I'll have them look at how is this negatively impacting you? Because when we are become hurt or offended in our life, there's a couple of things that we do. There are usually two types of people that react to it. You have the one type that takes revenge, right? Like they seek it out when they're feeling hurt or offended. They seek out and they make someone else's life miserable. Most of us aren't that way. Most of us are the second type, which is that we stuff it. We bottle it up. We keep it all deep down inside. And the problem with that is it usually becomes physical health problems, or it becomes mental issues. Like it could become anxiety or depression, or maybe we just have this sickness that, this ache, this pain that just never goes away, not really identifying it back to these severe hurts and offenses that we're carrying. So I really feel like it deeply impacts our bodies in negative ways, and that's what's affecting us the most.
And so it sounds like there's that physical, emotional, and mental kind of stress that, even as justifiable as that anger and resentment might be, right? That holding on to that is sort of self-perpetuating the story. It's not clearing it out. It's just keeping that sort of cycle within your soul continually running, like a tape that's running. Is that about right?
Perfect example. Yes, that's clearly what it is. It continues to affect you in multiple ways and multiple sources.
So say someone is divorcing or divorced and there's been abuse or there's been addiction or adultery. What are some ways that someone can actually go about in real time? It's not that it's, all of a sudden all closed off and pretty, but how can they start that process of forgiveness in realistic ways?
So there are 4 steps that I generally teach, 4 steps to forgiveness to help us to be able to start doing it. And the first thing that I tell them is recognize this doesn't mean that what's happened is right. If you've been abused, it's wrong. If somebody has mistreated you and done something horrific, it's wrong and they are at fault. And I think that's the first thing, is recognizing you call wrong wrong. If it was evil, it was evil. So we're not excusing that in any way, but you have to remember, it could be like if it was a perpetrator that did abuse somebody, then I'll say it's not affecting them like it is you. So you just got to separate the two things. This is for you only. So once they grasp that and understand it, then we go into the steps. So the first step is to say your forgiveness out loud, because who needs to hear it the most? We do, right? We need to hear ourselves forgiving. And I feel like it's almost like, for people who pray, it's like uttering a prayer. When you hear yourself pray out loud, it's so much more powerful than hearing it in your mind. It's good to hear it in your mind, but when you can actually say it out loud where you hear yourself say it, so much more powerful. That's one of the reasons we say it out loud. The other reason is, you might think it's reason A, like here's this reason A over here while I'm angry and upset. But then as you start verbalizing it out loud to yourself, the shower's a great place, in the car when you're by yourself, go find a closet, when it's to yourself, as you're talking it out, you might go, oh, this is it. It's reason B. It wasn't A, it was reason B. That's why I'm angry. That's why I'm upset. Because I'll have people come back and they're like, you know what, Wendy, I tried your forgiveness steps and they didn't work. And I just look at them and I say, you're not forgiving for the right thing. You're not hitting the right thing. Because if it's not working, you're not forgiving for the exact right thing. That's really, really stuck.
So it sounds like in that first step, it really is that starting to clean out, to get to the root reason of what that is stemming from. So maybe something overt was obvious. Oh, he abused a child, or he has a pornography addiction. But then there's also the root reasons of, there was betrayal of trust. There was, these other things that are more, have other labels to it.
Yes, the underlying causes that are adding to it, what's on the surface. Absolutely. You can get to those deeper levels as you start the forgiving process. The second step is really easy. You just say, I forgive. A lot of times we postpone. We'll say, I need to, I should, I'm going to have to. You're just delaying it. You're postponing it, right? So you're just saying, I forgive. Super easy step. Your third step is being able to be specific as to who and why. The more specific, the better. So I wouldn't say, I forgive my husband for everything he ever did in our marriage that caused me pain. Way too general, right? Because your memory is fantastic, first of all, and you're going to remember, we remember specifically. So you need to forgive specifically. You're going to be able to recall, I remember that night when it was raining and it was a horrible night and this and this and this happened. You'll remember specifically, so we forgive specifically.
I love that. And do you find that when people are getting to that point of being specific, is there because I'm thinking about this in real time. In fact, I thought of a friend of mine that her mother had been sexually abused. And she said that when she was older, it came back to her and she would process it when the kids were at school. And then she would close it when they came home. And then she would go back into this phase too, right? And this daughter had had a similar experience. And she found that she had to give it sort of a time limit, that she would allow herself to kind of go back into this world and into this processing. Do you recommend something like that?
I do. It can be very overwhelming if you're trying to do it all at once. And so breaking it up into chunks, especially when it's things from the past. Yes. If it's something immediately, however, I would do it quickly if it's, immediate, because what you'll find is these forgiveness steps, they don't take the problem away, but they help with the intense emotion that you're feeling in the moment. So what happens is when we're hurt or offended, we feel this intense emotion and we feel a lot of it and it's really heavy and it's extremely overwhelming. And so it's almost like you've got blinders on your eyes. And as you start actually verbalizing the forgiveness, it's like the blinders go away and all of a sudden you can see clearly to then make your next decision, which I cover because it's kind of a three-step process of forgiving, and then there's 2 more steps.
Love it. Okay, take us to the next one. I love this.
So the last step is to be genuine and forgive quickly. So I also like to throw in there, remember the 70 times 7 principle, whether people are religious or not, but there's a parable behind it. So if you understand the parable, there was a Jewish custom back in the day of Christ, and they would go to him and they would say, they did everything in sevens, like everything. It was just very common to do things in sevens. And so Peter came to Christ and he said, do I forgive 7 times? And he said, no, 70 times 7, which we now know and understand to be infinitely. So what that means is there's no limit to forgiveness. So we can forgive as many times as our soul needs it. So let's say I, had an experience in 7th grade and it was with my best friend Susie, and she stabbed me in the back and I felt horrible about it. And we never talked since then because she moved and I haven't seen her in 30 years, right? So long time ago, I go to my local Target and lo and behold, I run into Susie. I haven't seen her for 30 years. We talk, we chat. It's very cordial with each other, no problem. But then I get back in my car, get ready to go. And what happens? I remember in 7th grade when Susie hurt my feelings so badly, right? Memories, right? So, and it starts bringing up these feelings of frustration and anger and how hard and difficult it made your 7th grade year. So that means, I need to go back and forgive Susie again for what she did in 7th grade because I'm carrying that intense emotion. And I probably haven't thought about it in 29 years, I've got past it and got another friend, whatever. So whether it's current or past, if it's bringing up a lot of negative energy, there's no limit to the forgiveness. You forgive as often as you need.
I love that because sometimes I think, especially if you have religious, beliefs and going through being, divorcing or being divorced, then you feel like, okay, I really need to forgive this person. But it sounds to me that normalcy is layers. It's in layers. You forgive this layer and then you go to the next layer and you go to the next layer. And so it sounds like when you feel a layer, when you feel that moment, then to forgive quickly and immediately in that moment so that you're not Velcroing it on and you have to go back to it later and it's stuck on tighter. It sounds like when the wave washes over, you let it wash through and pass. So you're just not keeping a hold on to it.
Yes. And I love how you phrase that. It's a perfect explanation. It literally lets your body release the negative energy that's attached to the current situation or a memory of it. Your body releases that negative energy and clears it so that you can think better to make better decisions to go on to the next step, which is action. Because sometimes we just need to forgive and that's it. Like Susie, the case that I gave you, the example of Susie, I remember, I just need to forgive and let it go, right? Just let it be a past former memory and there's no energy behind it. But let's say I'm in a situation right now with a husband and I'm being abused and it's not safe. So I may need to do some forgiveness of a situation that happened last night that was very unhealthy. Maybe I got hit and it was unhealthy and it wasn't good and I can see I'm in danger. So I forgive to let that situation be to where my energy is in a clear place where I can make decisions, and then I need to take action. So then I make a safety plan. I find what I need to do to get it out, get out of this. And I know that's kind of an extreme example, but sometimes we need to be able to take those action steps. Or maybe I'm in a relationship with a parent and they're not a healthy parent and they push my boundaries constantly. Then my action step would be, I need to put boundaries in place to be able to put boundaries there with my parent and not let them affect me and call me 7 times a day, where I say, I'm not going to take your phone call 7 times a day. That would be an action step. Or something that's similar to that, that causes you to take action after you've let go of all that negative energy.
So it sounds like what you're saying is first get rid of that intense emotion that's going to cloud your thinking so that you can get in a clear space. So that's why it's such a good thing to do, is just forgive as soon as possible. And then making that action plan, even if it's something small. Like a lady called me this morning looking for some help, for emotional help. And it was her husband, and right now they're at a place of possibly divorcing. He's dealt with addiction and drinking, and it's been promises that are broken for years and things like that. And the thing that she's going to do next is what I call flourish in the thicket, which is not this extreme of I'm divorcing right now, walking out the door, which sometimes it requires that because it is dangerous, but being able to set a healthy boundary right now, how she's going to be talked to, what kind of respectful language she will have and not tolerate, what things that she's able to do that she's being told she can't do. She can't do this trip, or she can't go here, she can't go there. She's stepping up and saying, yes, I can. And as a person, as a human being, I'm allowed to do these things. So some of those action steps are really, they can seem small, but they can be really that confidence growing and establishing who you are. So not to, like you said, that's an extreme example, although that's going to be applicable to people that are watching. But also on that smaller scale, it is about asserting that I'm a human being and I'm worthy of love and respect and kindness. And those kinds of things, of being able to determine that. So forgiveness sounds like that open gateway to that, of that clarity and that confidence, because you can let go of the negative resentment and focusing on them and what they're doing, and focus on what you need to do to move forward. Is that right?
Perfect. Yes, that's exactly right. It allows you to see your own worth and value because you've let go of all that negative energy. And then you can start focusing on what you need to do for your own growth and benefit and well-being. Mm-hmm.
Love it. So we have the 4 steps of forgiveness, and then we have action, and then there's the last one. And what's that one?
So the last one, after we've gotten rid of all the negative energy, right? We've taken action. We need to refill our cup or our bucket. We need to bring back some positive energy into our lives. And the best way that we can do that is through gratitude. Gratitude is the bridge that gets us to higher levels in our lives. And so if you also think of it as, we kind of have 2 parts to our brain, and we have that fight or flight brain, which is the limbic part of our brain, which is there for a reason. I mean, if you're in an unsafe situation, you need that fight or flight to kick in to get you to a safe place. But ultimately, we want to get to this front part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, which is the place where your adult resides. That's the rational one that makes the good decisions. This is also a good place. Gratitude resides here. Things like deep breathing, and gratitude. So what I like to do is I like to have clients then follow up once we process things, let go, we found action steps. Let's bring in some positive energy through gratitude. What blessings do you have in your life? What are some things that you see that allow you to be who you are? And it's not just gratitude, but what kinds of things to bring light into your life? And it can be so many different things. It can be music. It can be getting out in nature. It can be exercising. It could be reading a book, a favorite book, talking to a girlfriend. There are so many things that can bring that in, but just remembering as you're bringing that light in to show gratitude for them. My favorite thing, of course, is to do a gratitude journal, to find at least something every single day. That's one thing I have clients do. Get a gratitude journal, put it by your bedside, whether you do it in the morning or whether you do it at night. Find at least one thing every single day that you can be grateful for, because that actually raises your positive energy level inside of you to find the blessings, find the things to be grateful for in your life.
That's fantastic. And do you find there's a certain time amount, like do it for 1 minute, 3 minutes, do it twice a day? Do you find anything like that? Or is it just do it at least daily?
Do it daily, because we find that stress actually will affect your energy level as well. You'll feel tired and start dragging, and it affects your health. So if you could do it on a daily basis, it helps to counteract that stress. When you're stressed, you've got increased chemicals to go into your brain, cortisol chemicals. And so gratitude can actually counter that and can bring even better chemicals to your brain. They're finding such great studies around gratitude and the benefits of gratitude. So I would do it on a daily basis to help counteract all of those symptoms of stress that your body is trying to cope with and deal with. So
That is amazing. That's amazing. It sounds like, you know, these simple tools that we've heard about for years and we know we should probably do, but they don't seem like they're going to yield these huge benefits. But it's that, you know, little mustard seed of a thing that when we do, we find out these layered benefits for these simple actions. I have loved the things that you have shared. Is there any last thing you want to share with those that are watching this who are divorcing or divorced that would help them in this forgiveness process? Any other tips or words of wisdom that they might want to hear or know?
Actually, there is one thing. One of the hardest people to forgive is ourselves. And that is so important, to be able to forgive yourself. Sometimes the most important thing you can hear yourself say is, I forgive myself for not doing this, not being this type of person, not completing this, because you're just as important and just as much worth as the person that you're forgiving. And sometimes you're forgiving a person that you love too. Like, I can't tell you how many times I forgive my husband and my kids. And it's not what they're doing wrong. It's just, I know it helps me to be a better mom and to have a better energy when I forgive my kids for ways they frustrate me or my husband. It helps me to show up and be more present. And you deserve that. We all deserve that. We deserve to show up and be present and to fulfill our purpose in life. And I feel like being able to forgive ourselves is just as important as being able to forgive other people. And that even includes, you know, for some people, they're shocked when I say, it sounds like you need to forgive God. Sometimes that's an important person that we forget we need to forgive, because we think, why can't he change these circumstances? Why didn't he fix this? Why didn't he intervene here? And so when I say, it sounds like you need to forgive God, they're shocked. I'm like, if you're in a relationship with him, you're going to need to forgive him too. And he understands that. So those two people, I think, are sometimes people we forget, ourselves and God. If we believe in, I mean, I have clients too that don't believe in a God, so I'll say your higher power, but they still have to do that too, because sometimes we feel like that higher power should have taken care of everything for us. And so forgiving and letting it go, and it helps you just to feel and be who you were truly meant to be, I think, to show up in your life as you're meant to.
I love that. And I think especially in situations like this, when there's so many variables, so many factors, so many layers, so many things that are out of someone's control, that a woman, especially a mother, is going to feel very, I should have known, I should have done, I should have whatever, when so often they have done the very best they can with the situation that they've been given and they're with the cards are dealt. So I love that. I love that in that spiritual forgiveness too, because how many of us have felt that before of, wow, even if we're not downright angry, we're just confused. Like, what is this? Why is this happening? I did all these things right and the way that they were supposed to. How could it go so wrong, right? So I love that. I love that awareness. I hope that you've gotten as much as I have out of this. This has been fantastic. Wendi Christensen has taken us through these 4 steps of forgiveness, then how to take action steps, and then how to wrap that up and fill it back in with gratitude. Fabulous. I invite you to take the information that she shared today, take the pieces that resonate with you, write those notes down, take them, keep them with you, and put them into your life. Choose one piece for today, just for today, whether it's gratitude or you're going to say it out loud or whatever that might be. Or if you're in a dangerous situation, you're going to take an action step to make sure you and your children are safe. But whatever that piece might be, I invite you to do that one thing and then ruminate on the stuff that she has shared, because this stuff is very layered and can just kind of sink in and go deep. Love this. And if you have questions, as always, post them in the group and let us know so we can help you get taken care of, and join us for the Q&A so that you can get any of your other questions answered. Thank you again, Wendi, for being with us today. So enjoy you, and I'm excited to have you back for more.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care.